We have need of a housing advisory committee tonight, and so I will first call to order the Arvada Housing Authority meeting for tonight, December 18th, 2023. Ms. Rush, if you will do the roll call.
Chairman Simpson.
Here.
Vice Chair Mormon.
Here.
Commissioner Ambrose. Commissioner Davis.
Here.
Commissioner Foray.
Here.
Commissioner Pfeiffer.
Here.
Commissioner Marriott.
Here.
May I please have a motion to excuse Councilmember Ambrose from tonight, Commissioner Ambrose from tonight's proceedings? Councilmember Pfeiffer, Commissioner Pfeiffer.
I'd like to make a motion to excuse Commissioner Ambrose from tonight's Housing Authority meeting.
All votes will be cast. That passes 6-1. Commissioner Ambrose is an excused absence. Thank you. Presented are the minutes of the Housing Authority meeting dated, apologies, I don't have the date here, August 7th. Thank you. Are there any changes or corrections to the record? Seeing none, the minutes will stand as presented. Next on the agenda is public comment time. This is your opportunity to speak to us on the Housing Authority issues. Is there anyone in chambers this evening that wishes to commit public comment? Seeing none, Ms. Rush, do we have any on Zoom? Seeing none. All right. Are there any reports then from the secretary? Seeing none. Are there any reports from committees? Seeing none, we move to unfinished business. Are there any unfinished business items to be discussed before we move to new business? Seeing none, I will close that portion of the hearing and next move into new business. First, we will consider R-HA-23-06, a resolution authorizing the Arvada Housing Authority to enter into a special limited partnership agreement and a housing assistance payments contract for the Legacy Senior Residences development. Ms. Gillis will introduce the item.
I'd like to introduce
Thank you.
Carrie Espinosa.
Good evening, Chair Simpson and Commissioners. This agenda item is regarding Legacy Senior Residences, which is a tax credit approved affordable housing development that will provide 72 units of affordable senior housing located near the intersection of 64th and Sheridan. Legacy Arvada Partners LP was awarded low-income housing tax credits for the Legacy Senior Residences in 2022 for financing of this project. In support of their tax credit application, the Arvada Housing Authority agreed to become a special limited partner in the project for purposes of providing a property and sales tax exemption. The Housing Authority also agreed to assign 8 Housing Choice vouchers with a preference that the vouchers are used for individuals experiencing homelessness. Services for these vouchers will be provided by the Arvada Homeless and Housing Navigators. The owner, Legacy Arvada Partners, is scheduled to close on this deal in December 2023 and must provide an executed special limited partner agreement and an agreement to enter into a housing assistance payments as part of their closing documentation. We do have a representative from the Legacy Arvada Partners development team here this evening and is available to answer questions regarding this project. If there are no questions, the team recommends approval of this resolution.
Thank you so much, Ms. Espinoza. Ms. Rush, do any members of the public wish to speak to this resolution? Anyone in chambers? Seeing none, I will open it to questions and discussion from members of the authority. Councilor Marriott. Commissioner Marriott. Sorry.
Yeah, so, Madam Chairwoman, I guess. I would suggest that we break this item into 2 separate items. The first being entering into a special limited partnership agreement, and then the second be a housing assistance payment contract for Legacy Senior Residences.
All right, so you moved. So are there any council member questions or discussion? I will also ask our acting city attorney, Ms. Nora Steenson, to weigh in on this motion.
Yes, I think Council Member Commissioner Marriott may make the motion, and it's up for discussion, and then you can call for the vote.
Okay,
Okay.
perfect. Then
Okay, so I'm
please make
gonna-
your motion.
I'm going to start by asking a couple questions. So what I'd like to ask is, this has, one of the two items we're going to potentially consider here is about, let me get the exact wording, 8 project-based vouchers. What does that mean?
It means that we will assign housing vouchers to the particular project. So typically, when we issue vouchers, they are issued and tied to a person, and that person can decide where they want to use that voucher. In this particular case, they are going to be tied to a unit at Legacy Senior Residences.
Okay. And who will decide who gets that voucher?
We are running a wait list through the Housing Authority, so folks who are interested in living at Legacy Senior Residences can sign up for that opportunity.
Okay. So rather than the management at Legacy Senior Residences deciding who lives in that unit, the Housing Authority will decide who lives in that unit. Is that, am I
That's
correct about
correct
that?
for those 8 project-based
Okay.
vouchers.
And so does this have the effect of costing Legacy Senior Residences any money, or do they come up short on money because we're deciding who lives in those units? Or do they get the financial revenue off those units is the same regardless of whether they decide or whether we decide?
It's the same regardless of who decides.
Okay. All right. That's the only question I have. So I'm going to, I'm going to make a motion that we split these two into separate items, and I'll start by moving that we enter into, or let's see, that we enter into a housing assistance payments contract for Legacy Senior Residences development.
Ms. Steenson, does
That's
that?
just the second half. Sure. I'm going to move that we enter into, or that we approve a housing assistance payments contract for the Legacy Senior Residences development.
Yes, I think that would be, yeah. So just to clarify, it makes more sense, I think, for council to vote on a motion to split the
Okay.
question and then go to each individual motion.
Okay, thank
that
you.
makes
Let me
sense.
remake it then. I'll move that we split this resolution into 2 separate motions.
I will open it to council questions or comments regarding the motion on the floor. Seeing none, I will call the vote. Council members, please cast your vote on if we will split this motion. I see you weigh in, Councilmember Commissioner Pfeiffer.
Could I ask a question? I know there's a motion on the floor, but can I still ask what?
Yes.
Well, I guess I'll find out. I'm just wondering why, but is there, or do you need it for the motion to pass?
No, I'll be happy to speak to my motion as to why.
Yeah.
So these are 2 very different actions on the same project, and I think they should be considered separately because they're 2 separate actions and not one action
Okay.
together. The only thing that's common to them is that they're for the same project.
Okay, so let me repeat it back just so I understand. There is a partnership agreement, it's
Mhm.
one, and then one's a payment of the allocations of the facilities.
Correct.
And you don't think that they're related to the partnership? Would they be inside the partnership agreement? Is that part of the partnership agreement? I would have,
Kylie, do you know if the vouchers are mentioned in the partnership agreement?
They are not mentioned in the partnership agreement. The reason they're together is just they both support the financial viability of this project in ways that we are making it so they can make their debt service ratio make sense.
so what legal vehicle do we have to ensure that what we're being presented tonight is going to be adhered to for years, decades, however long we say?
Sorry, in regards to
The payment side.
The housing
The
vouchers?
8 voucher apartments? Is there something in the legal document that says we have them for 20 years, 30 years, 5 years?
Light Tech is normally for a period of 15 years, and then they can resyndicate after a period of 15 years. So part of our partnership with Legacy Residences is that it has to be an affordable property, and we're giving them the vouchers on the condition that certain affordability restrictions are met, and so those are laid out in the special partnership agreement. So we could withdraw, and they would have to pay property tax in the event that they did not abide by the affordability restrictions, but there's a lot of additional restrictions with LIHTC being in place.
Okay, and I'm not smart in this area, so I just want to make sure whatever we're being sold is enforced, other than pulling away their tax.
That would be our vehicle for enforcement, is withdrawing as a special limited partner, which would require that they pay property tax after that. But in order to have LIHTC and maintain LIHTC, it will have to be an affordable property, and there's a separate organization that will, through CHAFA, make sure that they are maintaining an affordable property. That's how they maintain their LIHTC credits.
Is it defined the same way as it defined in this resolution?
Is what defined?
Well, because some of the affordability is, let me go to it. Sorry, folks, I was trying to, this was happening faster than I was absorbing it. That 8 of the units of the property shall be restricted to household not to exceed 30% of area median income. All units are senior defined by HUD, which is fine. 1 bedrooms, restricted tenants at 50% or less. Are those very specific thresholds enforced by the LIHTC rules or whatever we do? Or do we need to define that in a partnership that they need to follow these rules?
This was part of their application for the low-income housing tax
Okay.
credits.
Okay, so it's documented.
It is.
For the LIHTC, okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
All right, all votes are cast. That motion passes 4-2 with Commissioners Mormon and Davis being dissenting votes. Thank you. So then, Councilmember Marriott, I will ask you to then make your first motion for councilmember question and discussion.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll actually pass on making these 2 motions, so if someone else would like to, that'd be great.
Thanks for that.
I guess I will take a stab at the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Ferre.
All right, so I move that a resolution authorizing the Arvada Housing Authority to enter into a special limited partnership agreement be approved.
All commissioners will cast their votes.
Hang on, I have.
Commissioner Marriott, please.
Thank you. So I have a comment before I vote on this. And I will be voting no on this part of the motion, and I'm sorry for the tortured splitting this apart, but on this part, I can't vote yes, and I didn't want to vote no on the whole thing, and here's why. We have started to see these entering into special limited partnership agreements over and over and over again on every subsidized housing project that comes forward. And the sole purpose of this is to relieve these residential units from paying property tax. The thing that gets me to this, however, is this is not a not-for-profit transaction. I have a little list here of all the people who are making money on this. This is a for-profit enterprise. The land sellers certainly making money. The architects that designed this project, they didn't work for free. They're making money. The consultants who worked on this project, they're all working at a profit, making money. All the attorneys that worked on this, the contractors who will build it, and the suppliers who supply stuff, all are making money. Additionally, once it's built, the property managers will make money in the operations of it, and the investors will make money for providing the money to do this. But yet, by paying no property tax, the rest of the property taxpayers within Jefferson County and within Arvada will be picking up the share of property tax that these residences would normally pay. It's a hidden subsidy that I think goes too far. And so that's why I'll be voting no. I do not believe that all the residents of Arvada who own property that pay property tax should be subsidizing this additionally over and above the subsidies that already exist.
Thank you. Commissioner Foray? Okay, it's from before. Thank you. So I will go ahead and display the votes. That passes 5-1, with Commissioner Marriott being a no vote and Commissioner Ambrose being an excused absence. And for the record, I note I didn't say it before, Commissioner Ambrose was an excused absence on the previous motion as well. So thank you, and then I will open it for a potential motion or conversation on the next motion. Councilmember, or Commissioner Foray.
I'll make the motion if you are good. Okay. Let's see. I move that the housing assistance payments contract for the Legacy Senior Residence Development be approved.
All right. Commissioner Marriott.
So this one I'll be voting yes on, and here's why. Us assigning our federally pass-through funds to this project, I think, is a reasonable way for us to act to help this project get off the ground and to provide some assurity of the operations of this, which is, of course, what the investors would be looking for. And so in this particular case, I do find this to be worthwhile to do, so I'll be voting yes.
Thank you. All votes are cast. That passes 6-0, with Commissioner Ambrose being an excused absence. All right. So next we will consider R-HA-23-07, a resolution authorizing the Arvada Housing Authority to loan Legacy Arvada Partners, LP, $840,000 U.S. to assist in financing a senior affordable housing development known as Legacy Senior Residences. Ms. Espinosa.
So this agenda item is also related to Legacy Senior Residences. The Arvada Housing Authority committed to provide a loan of $840,000 to provide gap funding for this project. The owner, Legacy Arvada Partners LP, is scheduled to close on this deal in December of 2023 and must provide an executed loan agreement with the Arvada Housing Authority as part of the closing documentation. Again, we do have a representative from Legacy Arvada Partners here to answer any questions. Otherwise, the team recommends approval of this resolution.
All right, Ms. Rush, do we have any members of the public? Seeing none, I will open it to questions, comments, and/or actions from the commission. Mr. Marriott.
Yeah, so I have a question for the city team. What's the source of funds for this loan? And then the terms, both the terms as well as the length? Yeah,
The source
go ahead,
of
whoever.
funds is coming from our involvement in the Castlegate project.
Okay.
We do receive an annual payment from Castlegate every year, and that has built up over the last couple of years, so we're using that to fund this loan.
Okay, and the terms?
Kylie, do you have the terms? Thank you.
It's a 30-year loan. It's considered a soft loan, so it is due after payments to the hard permanent construction loans. The initial 7 years are interest only, and after that, it's 4%. And there should be an amortization schedule attached there for your review.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Foray.
I have a question, and I can make the motion if you guys are okay with that.
Absolutely.
My question is, can we use any Prop 123 funding for this? Because I know they had some forgiveness loans or low-interest loans.
For this particular project, at the time, it was the land banking opportunity that was open, and then the other, I don't believe it was eligible for this.
Okay.
So we opted to use our internal funds to support it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. You may make the motion.
All right. I move that R-HA-23-07, a resolution authorizing the Arvada Housing Authority to loan Legacy Arvada Partners, LP, $840,000 to assist in financing a senior affordable housing development to be known as Legacy Senior Residence, be approved.
That passes 6-0, with Commissioner Ambrose being an excused absence. Thank you. Do we have any additional? Yes.
Commissioner Simpson or Chairperson Simpson, just as a clerical matter, going back to that first resolution that was split, we just want to make clear for the record that the first vote that the Commission or Housing Authority took on R-HA-23-06, a resolution authorizing the Housing Authority to enter into a special limited partnership agreement, will be numbered R-HA-23-06A. And the second motion that you approved, the one authorizing a housing assistance payments contract for the Legacy Senior Residences development, will be renumbered R-HA-23-06B.
Thank you so much, Ms. Steenson. All right, and with those notes, if there's no other business, I will close the Housing Authority meeting and open the standard Arvada City Council meeting for today's date, Monday, December 18th, 2023. And Ms. Rush, opening that, I will also call on Councilmember Davis to do the moment of silence and pledge.
Thank you, Mayor. Please join us in a moment of reflection. Thank you. Now join us in saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Ms. Rush. If you'll do the roll call.
Mayor Simpson.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Mormon.
Here.
Councilmember Ferre.
Here.
Councilmember Davis.
Here.
Councilmember Ambrose. Councilmember Pfeiffer.
Here.
Councilmember Marriott.
Here.
That's a new alphabetical order.
Yes. Can I have a motion to excuse Councilmember Ambrose from tonight's proceedings? Thank you. I think Mayor Pro Tem Mormon.
I move to excuse
Oh, microphone.
I move to excuse Councilmember Ambrose from tonight's proceedings.
Thank you. All votes are cast. That passes 6-0. Councilmember Ambrose is an excused absence. And can I just say, it is nice to be calling people council members again. All right. So with that, presented are the minutes of the City Council meeting dated for November 7th and December 4th, 2023. Are there any changes or corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, we will move on. From there, we will move into public comment. So to note, public comment is your opportunity to speak to us about any items not on the agenda this evening. So we will not react, but if your items require follow-up, we will get your contact information and a member of the team will be in contact with you. We look forward to hearing your concerns, and we will just go in order of what I have here on the fill-out sheets. So first, I will call Denise Van Huel. Oh. Okay, if you are speaking on, yes, I see. You are here for something that was previously on the consent agenda? Okay, thank you. So, next, Sam Greenberg.
Hi, good evening, Mayor Simpson, members of council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. My name is Sam Greenberg, and I'm here on behalf of Congresswoman Brittany Pettersen. I just wanted to give a quick update on the work that Congresswoman has been doing in Washington, D.C. Congresswoman Pettersen has been hard at work for the folks of Arvada and 7th Congressional District here in Colorado. From her seat on the House Financial Services Committee, she has been leading on legislation to improve treatment options for those struggling with behavioral health, increase access to affordable housing, and to hold bad actors and scammers in the financial sector accountable. And recently, after hearing from residents across Jeffco about the prevalence and dangers of illegal street racing in their communities, Congresswoman Pettersen introduced the They're Fast, We're Furious Act of 2023. This bill will establish an FBI task force to work with local, state, and federal leaders to develop a strategic response for preventing illegal street racing, which unfortunately has caused far too many deaths and injuries in our communities. Congresswoman hopes to see this bipartisan bill become law soon. Additionally, Congresswoman Pedersen wants to provide the best assistance possible to constituents who are having issues with federal agencies, whether it be Social Security, Medicare, the IRS, the VA, or otherwise. If you or anyone you know is having a federal issue, please reach out to our district office in Lakewood, up in Belmar, and our team will be happy to help. And once again, just want to thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. I've left some cards with City Manager Gillis, if you ever like to get in touch, and I hope you have a great rest of the evening.
Thank you, Mr. Greenberg. Next, I have Nate Bernstein.
Good evening. This public comment is pertaining to Wolf Park, just west of Arvada, K through 8. My understanding is the park might get sold and developed into something other than a park as Arvada K through 8 closes. I live right by the park. It's the nearest park to me. It's about a 5-minute walk, which is fantastic. If the park does close, it would be about 15 minutes to the next nearest park. And my understanding is also that part of the city's master plan, park master plan, is to keep parks within 10 minutes of all citizens, which I think is fantastic. And that's one of the reasons I like to live in Arvada. To say a little bit more about the park, it's well used, it's well loved. I use the park almost every day. I walk my dog there. I'm an avid skateboarder. I use the skate park many days out of the week. It's a great way to unwind and de-stress. I'll go for a jog through there. I've met my neighbors there. I've made friends there. It's a great part of the community. I've seen parents teaching their kids how to skateboard there, which when I was a little kid, I didn't have that, and I was just left to go out into the wild and do all kinds of things and, you know, grind on benches and handrails, which none of us want. So having a skate park is awesome. I love having it there. I like the park. I hope it stays intact. And as one other comment, the lights are often off in the park late at night. Having those on would be great. I often work late, and being able to go to the park and go for a jog or walk my dog, or again, use the skate park would be awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next.
Mayor, can I, real quick?
Absolutely.
We have a 99-year lease on that land. Could we just confirm some details around that?
We're actively monitoring the situation. We share the concern as well.
Okay. Yeah, so any information, and then with the lights, the motion, maybe put motion on those lights.
Yep. Thank you so much. Next, we have Len Clemens.
Good evening. My name is Mayor, council members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. My name is Lynn Clemens, and I'm the president of Westwood Villas HOA with 135 homeowners. I'm also a member of McIntyre Neighbors United. I'd like to introduce you to our group and to the issue that prompted Arvada residents to form this coalition. McIntyre Neighbors United is a grassroots coalition of over 22 neighborhoods, including 18 HOAs. We are affiliated with the Ralston Valley Coalition. The community formed the McIntyre Neighbors United Coalition to support compatible, sustainable development. Our journey began in August 2022 when Constellation Real Estate Partners, a logistics distribution construction firm headquartered in Dallas, Texas, submitted preliminary plans to redevelop 40 acres at 5902-5950 McIntyre in unincorporated Jefferson County into distribution warehouses. This property abuts the Arvada city limits and is immediately south of my community. The property may have residual contamination with heavy metals such as uranium, nickel-laterite, and trichloroethylene, or TCE, in the groundwater. Because for many years this property was research facilities, and for 20 years it's lain fallow, and now has been developed by very nice residential areas. Constellation is proposing to move the Farmers Highline Canal in order to build a 500,000 square foot logistics distribution center. Their design has 144 truck bays, one for every 2,500 square foot of warehouses, and almost 43-foot high building height, meeting the industry standard definition of a distribution warehouse. Conservatively, it has a capacity for 2,000 vehicular trips per day. There will be no public hearings, and there has not been any community outreach to gather the community's input on how to develop the property. We want to make it very clear that we are not NIMBYs, not in my backyard, folks. We understand this site will be redeveloped, and we don't oppose that. We just want the development to be sustainable and compatible with this residential area. We are very grateful to the City of Arvada for submitting its comments on the warehouse site development plan to Jefferson County, enumerating several important concerns, including the call for a Phase 2 environmental assessment, a setback consistent with Arvada's requirements for a logistics distribution center, which was going to be 300 feet, and analysis of the noise and traffic that will be produced by the proposed facility. We have met with some of you on the council to explain the community's concerns. The next two speakers will provide a brief overview of some of these concerns. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next speaker is Judy Dane.
Hello, thanks for letting me speak again tonight. My name is Judy Dane, and I'm also a member of the McIntyre Neighbors United. I'll provide a brief overview of our efforts to work with county officials and the landowner to secure compatible, sustainable development. Because no public hearings were planned to obtain community input on this project, several community members met with the owner to learn more about this proposed development. We asked for a good neighbor agreement to ensure the new development would be as compatible as the business park and laboratories, up to 16 buildings at one time, that occupied this property since the 1970s. It quickly became clear there would be no good neighbor agreement. It also became clear why, as currently proposed, this project won't be a good neighbor to nearby residential areas. The proposal by its nature introduces high volumes of semi-truck traffic, 24/7 operations, diesel emissions linked to cancer and asthma, and noise levels orders of magnitude louder than the limits established in state law as safe for residential areas. This development would not be approved by neighboring municipal jurisdictions, including Arvada, Broomfield, and Golden, because of the heavy truck traffic and noise. Jefferson County is currently updating its out-of-date industrial zoning and land use regulations. Updates are anticipated in May 2024 and would likely not permit this development to be built so close to residential areas. In addition, other state and county agencies have made it clear that important ecological and historical features of this site make it a particularly ill-suited location for this project. The Colorado Parks and Wildlife Department warned the development would impact wildlife, including the eagle habitat on this site and the adjacent Hyatt Lake. And History Colorado and the Jefferson County Historical Commission have warned that the developer's proposal to move the historic Farmers Highline Canal would further diminish the historical rural landscape and setting in Jefferson County. Further, we are concerned about the lack of environmental testing on this site. No additional testing is being required before disturbing tons of soil and water potentially contaminated with residual radioactive waste and organic chemical compounds. As for economic growth, demand for distribution warehouses is already being met in Northwest Denver. Many new distribution warehouses are now being built. Further, the small number of low-wage warehouse jobs this proposal might create will be reduced by drone delivery and automation. Buildings designed for innovative uses, such as those as the nearby master plan Course Technology, attract better tenants offering high-paying jobs. The central issue here is whether we as a community will insist on thoughtful development that preserves the very things we love most about Colorado: a clean environment, conservation of wildlife, and preservation of our rural and historic landmarks. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, we have Ann LaFemme.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council members. Lynn and Judy and I are here tonight to talk about a development that's affecting Arvada citizens. And you may be curious as to why we're here, since this is being built in unincorporated Jefferson County. The developer took one step south of the city limits line and is developing an infill project. It is 10 city blocks of heavy industrial development. Noise, air pollution, degradation of a wildlife corridor, not to mention the environmental risks of redeveloping a brownfield site affect our Arvada residents, and not just the ones that live nearby. This is a regional distribution center. So the heavy truck traffic that Lynn was talking about from the 144 semi-truck bays, this is a regional distribution center. That means Highway 58, Highway 93, McIntyre, Indiana, 64th, and all of the people who live there are going to be subject to much more heavy traffic. Noise is an issue because there's no meaningful enforcement of noise ordinances. We are so grateful that the City of Arvada and the Planning Department wrote a letter to the county enumerating our concerns. We just wanted to say thank you and come tonight to introduce the new council members to this issue. We have some ideas about how the city can help protect the Arvada citizens that are going to be affected by this development. We look forward to meeting each of you, especially the newly elected members of the council, and explaining what the issues are. But I also want to assure you that we're not just relying on the city. There are 18 HOAs, numerous uncoveted communities that are joining together in our coalition. So there's only 3 of us here tonight, but we have thousands of members. 4,000 people signed a petition asking the county commissioners to enact a moratorium, a tactic that used in the state of California, to halt approving these kind of distribution centers until they could update their warehouse distribution land use regulations. In Jefferson County, which has received hundreds of thousands of dollars of federal funding under ERA to update their regulations, said it would take about 10 months to update their regulations in May when we brought this proposal to them. They declined to institute a moratorium similar to one that the city of Golden had instituted, by the way, completely legal. They declined to do it, and they declined to protect the residents of this city and the residents of unincorporated Jefferson County. There are 253 families that live within 1,000 feet of this site. Children between the ages of 4 and 8 will get childhood cancer because of the diesel particulate emissions. So we're asking for your help. I'm mad. I'm clearly emotional about this issue because I'm concerned about public health and the environment. But I'm very grateful to you, and we'll be working with you as we have been working with our U.S. senators, our U.S. representatives, and other elected officials to make sure that this very poor planning doesn't negatively affect the residents of this city. So thank you, and look forward to meeting with you.
Thank you so much. All right. Next, we will move on to the consent agenda. However, there are 7 items listed currently on the consent agenda, but I understand that the team has felt that the discussion item of number 7 on the consent agenda is worthy of additional discussion under our council rules. Therefore, I will call for a motion to move item number 8A7, R23-120, a resolution sunsetting the Golf Advisory Committee and assigning the Golf Advisory Committee's duties to the Parks Advisory Committee from the consent agenda to Section 8B of tonight's agenda. Councilmember Pfeiffer.
Yeah, I move that resolution 23-120, resolution sunsetting the Golf Advisory Committee and assigning the Golf Advisory Committee duties to the Park Advisory Board be removed from the consent agenda to Section 8B of tonight's agenda. Is that correct, Nora? Because it says moved, but I think it meant removed. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Pfeiffer, if you will vote. Thank you. That passes 6-0 with Councilmember Ambrose being an excused absence. So thank you. So with that removed, we still need to take up the consent agenda, which this evening now includes R23-114, a resolution adopting the City of Arvada's 2024 legislative agenda, R23-115, a resolution authorizing a crossing agreement by and between the City of Arvada and the Farmers Highline Canal and Reservoir Company for trail along Alcar Street between 78th Avenue and 80th Avenue, R23-116, a resolution authorizing an employment agreement between the City of Arvada and Michelle Weaver, appointing her as Municipal Court Relief Judge for 2024. R23-117, a resolution authorizing an employment agreement between the City of Arvada and Barbara S. Hank, appointing her as Municipal Court Relief Judge for 2024. R23-118, a resolution authorizing an employment agreement between the City of Arvada and Charles W. Tingle, appointing him as Municipal Court Relief Judge for 2024. And finally, R23-119, a resolution authorizing an employment agreement between the City of Arvada and Michael S. Matassa, appointing him as a Municipal Court Relief Judge for the year 2024. Councilmember Frey.
I'll make the motion.
Absolutely.
All right. I move R23-114 through R23-119 be approved.
All votes are cast. That passes 6-0 with Councilmember Ambrose being an excused absence. Thank you so much. And next we will open Section 8B, resolutions, and we do have a resolution
One
this
second.
evening. Yes.
We need to swear in the new judge first, really quick.
Oh.
After.
Oh.
Oh, sorry. My apologies.
Okay, thank you. We will call item number 8A7, R23-120, a resolution sunsetting the Golf Advisory Committee and assigning the Golf Advisory Committee's duties to the Parks Advisory Committee. I believe that one of our city team members will introduce this item. Ms. Janes.
Thank you, Mayor. Upon reviewing City Council and Arvada resident priorities, the City team recommends that the Arvada City Council sunset the Arvada Golf Advisory Committee and merge the committee's duties with the work plan of the Arvada Parks Advisory Committee. There were several factors that contributed to this recommendation, providing greater efficiency and alignment by making recommendations about all recreational facilities, including city-owned golf courses, through one resident advisory body, aligning golf-specific recommendations with city priorities given the breadth of City of Arvada recreational properties and projects, and creating a more positive and purposeful volunteer experience for all committee members. The consolidation of the Golf Advisory Committee into the Parks Advisory Committee will improve efficiency, align advisory committee recommendations related to the city's diverse recreational facilities, and improve volunteer experience. The Arvada City Council created the Golf Advisory Committee by resolution in 2014. One of the most significant contributions of the Golf Advisory Committee is their participation in the remodel of the Westwoods Golf Club. The Advisory Committee contributed greatly to the success of the project and to the maturation of Arvada's golf amenities. If the City Council deems it advisable to sunset the Golf Advisory Committee and merge the committee's duties with the Arvada Parks Advisory Committee, the City team recommends that the Arvada City Council invite current Golf Advisory Committee members to apply for the Arvada Parks Advisory Committee. The City team also recommends that current Golf Advisory Committee members be given preference during the 2024 Advisory Committee appointment process. The Arvada team recommends that the City Council approve R23-120, a resolution sunsetting the Golf Advisory Committee and assigning the Golf Advisory Committee's duties to the Parks Advisory Committee.
Thank you. I know we have members of the public here to speak on this issue tonight. First, I will call Hannah, and I apologize, Baraxma? Hank. Okay, Baraxma. Your handwriting is even worse than mine.
I know. I write like a doctor or a school.
Thank you, and my apologies.
No worries. Good evening, all of you. Congratulations to those of you who are newly elected on council. It's a pleasure to see you all. Let's say I drew the short straw, but that's not really the case. I'm a co-chair of the Golf Advisory Committee. We found out about the sunsetting or dissolution of the committee about 2 weeks ago. We had no input in the process, and I don't want to get into the details of the process, but we met about a week ago. It would have been our last meeting for the year. Also, a little holiday party is included in that meeting, but let's just say it spun downward as the members found out about the consent agenda item. Thank you for removing it from the consent agenda. The members are all very strong golfers, different handicaps. They're all very avid. They're compassionate about what they do. They know the golf community. the fear was that if this was put into the Parks Advisory Committee, it might lose a little bit of the knowledge that golfers have because it's such a unique sport. Not everybody plays golf, not everybody gets it. The challenge is when you play golf, you become addicted because every round you hit the perfect shot and you just want to go and do that again and again. I think there is a failure here because of the potential changes to the Lake Arbor Golf Course, and loss of the Golf Advisory Committee could be significant as far as the input goes. And that's really about all I have to say, but I will tell you that the entire committee was unanimous, and we sent you an email, and I hope you all read that, and we'll see where it goes, but thank you.
Thank you. I can acknowledge we did receive that email, and it was read and discussed, so thank you. Next, we will call Denise Van Huel.
Hello, my name is Denise Van Huel, and I thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. I was an educator in Illinois for 31 years, and I had plenty of opportunities to go to a board to talk about things, and I never did, and until now. So that's what brings me here tonight. I firmly believe that an effective GAC committee is not needed now more than ever. I had applied several years ago to be on that committee, and I intend to apply during this application period also. There are many issues that need attention with the golf courses, especially with what's going on, all the discussion about Lake Arbor. I have a copy of the February 13th minutes from the City Council meeting, and there's a considerable attention paid about Lake Arbor. And I think it's important that you have, as the gentleman previous to me said, have people that are invested in golf, understand golf, and know golf to help everybody through that decision process. I know before I started playing golf, I thought that it was like, I didn't know anything about it. And now, as he said, it becomes an addiction. COVID demonstrated a need for outdoor healthy activities. And I don't want to see Lake Arbor go away. I think it should be reconfigured and reconsidered, because golf is a unique and specific sport. And if there's any thought that the present GAC committee is ineffective, I wonder respectfully if the City Council and members of the administration of Arvada is not taking the thoughts of the GAC committee seriously. I know, for instance, the bathrooms have been an issue out at Westwoods, and they haven't been addressed, and they're not cleaned. And the GAC committee is worked, I know they have, to get that cleaned up, and it hasn't been done. So with somebody like the GAC committee on a matter like that, and if you lose the GAC committee, what's going to happen to any thought? And the golf courses will just fall into, I think it'll be pushed aside. And I don't even know if you folks want to have golf anymore. In those minutes, it spoke to the fact that municipal golf courses are important. And I'd like to see them continue to be in Arvada. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. At this time, I will open it up to council members' questions, comments, and action. Councilmember Pfeiffer.
So, Anessa, maybe some thoughts here when you talk about the park advisory, that maybe the council can spend a little time understanding its charter and vision and what it needs to do. Because, you know, as I hear, you know, being one of the original council members that advocated for the Golf Advisory Committee and sat on it at the very beginning, there is value in that, and I don't want it to be diluted as well. But also, you have to also remember the golf courses were running in the red for a very long time. So additionally, we have other facilities like the equestrian facility that are now more recreational. And in light of our programming we do on our parks, maybe we need to relook at park advisory, making sure we understand their scope, because it's not just advising the parks on walking 10 minutes away, or, you know, boy, it sure would be nice for a new play set there. Or let's name it this. we need to kind of look at a broader scope of what that is. It's not just Park Advisory. Maybe, I hate to say this out loud, but maybe it's Park and Recreational Advisory Committee, because there are so many other recreational things that we do. And that topic's getting a little bit louder out west with bike trails, and in light of, man, I went to blank on that Pioneer gravel pit that is going to be reclaimed. Yeah, the Pioneer Blonde, I think you got to start looking at the recreational opportunities that are in our open space. So maybe that's an opportunity for council to kind of look at the scope of the park advisory and making sure we understand it and that we have a better vision with a combined view, because I don't want to lose the golf advisory's unique perspective on that recreational and park use. I mean, that was donated to us, and we need to treat it as such. So maybe some thoughts around that might be helpful. And we got a few months before we have to appoint, but maybe we can knock something out before this next round. But I don't know. Council has to weigh in. These are our appointees, but that would be my thought. I think you've served on the park advisory and golf.
And she actually
Okay.
has her
Oh,
light
she
on.
does. Good,
So-
because I was going to look at you next.
Councilmember Davis.
Yes, so I had served on the Arvada Park Advisory Committee and the Arvada Golf Advisory Committee, and there are some unique perspectives and differences in perspectives. The Golf Advisory Committee, was a bit frustrating for me because we did concentrate on things like bathrooms, which were more operational, and having toured the bathrooms at Westwoods, I find them acceptable. I mean, you're not supposed to go in there and read your Sunday paper. So I feel like it's, for bathrooms, for what they are acceptable. What I'd like to see the Golf Advisory Committee do is expand their span of overview and look at how they can do more outreach and education, drawing in some newer golfers. Outdoor recreation is very important, and it adds to the vitality of our aging community here, and I think it's really important that we have them at the table. That unique perspective and zest for golf can be folded into the Arvada Park Advisory Committee if we can pull some of those members into the existing members who have that institutional knowledge into the Park Advisory Committee and not lose all of that, because then staff have to start from ground zero. And they have to learn about all of the iterations for Lake Arbor as well as for Westwoods moving forward, and why things are being done in a certain way. And learning about the Audubon Society certification and those types of things. So there is a nexus between the two, but I would like us to make sure that we don't use that vibrancy of the Arvada Golf Advisory Committee.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Mormon.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to build off of what my fellow council members have said so far, and first of all, start by saying my appreciation to those that have volunteered on this committee for its existence. I myself, before coming to council, served on another advisory committee, the Sustainability Advisory Committee, and so I know what time and commitment you put into that, and I just want to express my appreciation to you for doing that. And secondly, as Councilmember Pfeiffer and Davis also said, I think it's really important as we look at the Park Advisory Committee and its makeup that we capture that expertise that you bring and not start from ground zero. So I encourage you to apply, and I appreciate what Dr. Janes said about giving preference to those applicants from the existing Golf Advisory Committee. And so we look forward to reviewing those applications when they come this spring, and again, I hope you will apply.
Councilmember Pfeiffer.
Could I just make sure we have some clarifying actions for the team? Could we ask Anessa to look at what the recreational perspectives of that vision can look like? Because, yeah, okay.
I can speak to that. Yeah, so recreation is already included in the resolution that created Arvada Parks Advisory Committee. So the brand is parks, but the committee is already doing recreation. They're planning for bike parks, They're talking about athletic field programming, and so there is, a natural space for golf in the Parks Advisory Committee. We can absolutely explore name changes or
Or
more
could we just
clarification.
call it out a little bit more in their
Yeah.
bylaws or whatever rules that they're going by?
Absolutely.
Because it could be silent, which means nothing in this conversation. Council was purposeful in creating the advisory committee, and I am not a fan of just diluting that purpose. And then also, as we all know, the equestrian concerns, so there should be some thoughts around those assets as well. And I'm sure those are silent, and that's not my community. West Arvada is very vocal about the equestrian side. And so, let's look more broadly and not confine ourselves to a narrow scope and look at all parks and recreation as a
Absolutely.
whole. Maybe it's just a refresh of its bylaws or charter or whatever it's going by would be nice. Is that fine?
I agree. I would think that that's a great idea. And in fact, it was something we had discussed at lunch just today. So great minds think alike. That is amazing. So with that, Ms. Janes, do you feel that you have what you need? Okay, thank you very much. Then seeing no more lights, I will ask for a motion. Councilmember Pfeiffer.
All right. I move that Resolution 23120, resolution sunsetting the Golf Advisory Committee and assigning the Golf Advisory Committee's duties to the Parks and Advisory Committee be approved. I don't think I need to do anything else, do I?
No.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Mr. Marriott.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to make an amendment to this motion. And here's the amendment I would like to make. I'd like to amend the motion to say, move that R 23-120, a resolution sunsetting the Golf Advisory Committee and assigning the Golf Advisory Committee's duties to the Parks Advisory Committee, and to expand the Parks Advisory Committee by up to 2 members of the existing Golf Advisory Committee to be appointed by council immediately, with the remaining Golf Advisory Committee members to be given priority for future Parks Advisory Committee memberships.
Okay, does anyone wish to have question or comment on the new motion?
Well, wait, I had a point of order.
Well, yes.
So I had a motion.
Well,
So you don't want a
Is it a friendly or not?
So you're trying to amend my motion? Are you asking
Correct.
for a friendly?
Yeah, correct.
Oh.
I'd be happy to accept it as a friendly amendment if
Oh,
you
you mean-
want to,
I
or
want-
if you
I
want to
want to
accept it,
accept
yeah.
it.
I'm
I'll accept it
Fine
as a-
for you to accept it as a friendly amendment, and if not, I would prefer.
I will accept it as a friendly amendment.
Excellent, thank you. So that means we have a new motion on the floor, and we do not need to vote on the new motion. The friendly amendment is accepted, which supplants the old motion, becomes the new motion. So if any council members have questions or comments at this time, we will take those. Otherwise, I will call the vote. Oh, sorry, I had to clear it, so I need voters to start again. So, all right, with that, this passes 5-1 with Councilmember Foray voting no and Councilmember Ambrose being an excused absence. Thank you all so much. All right, and with that, I will simply thank the Golf Advisory Committee for all of your hard work over the many years. It has not gone unnoticed. We will look at this about the 2 new members to Parks Advisory, and please do apply either to Parks or to other committees you may have interest. This is not about the fine work that you have done. It is more to Councilmember Pfeiffer's thoughts of broader recreation, of which golf certainly is one of our key recreational elements in this city, and we do need and want and value your expertise as part of that broader look as we look at everything from equestrian to pools to playgrounds to bike trails. Golf is a critical part of all of that, so thank you very much for all you've done and hopefully will continue to do. All right. The next item on the agenda are first readings of ordinances, but there are none, so we will move on to the next item of the agenda, which will be swearing in of our new relief judges. I will call on our presiding judge, Katie Kurtz, to step forward to swear in the new judges. First, will Michelle Weaver join Judge Kurtz in for the swearing-in ceremony.
Good evening, council members and mayor. I would like to introduce to you Michelle Weaver. She is our new relief judge that was recently hired. The other judges are just contract approvals, so they're not here to be sworn in since they've already been sworn in. So with that, we'll put on our robes. All right, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Michelle Weaver,
I, Michelle Weaver,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and of the state of Colorado,
and of the state of Colorado,
and faithfully perform the duties
and faithfully perform the duties
of the office of Relief Municipal Judge
of the office of Relief Municipal Judge
for the city of Arvada,
for the city of Arvada,
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm going to have to redo this. And just to give you a little bit background about Ms. Weaver, she was a prosecutor at the district attorney's office for a very long period of time, which is how I got to know her. She's currently in private practice doing guardian ad litem, and I may get this wrong, respondent parent counsel work. So she works in the dependency and neglect area, representing children and respondent parents in that area.
That's right.
Yeah? Okay, good. I got it right.
Perfect. We're very glad you're here.
Thank you. So, thank you.
All right. Next, would Barbara S. Hank join Judge Kurtz for the swearing-in ceremony?
So I only have Ms.
Oh.
Weaver tonight.
Okay.
The rest of the relief judges have already been sworn in.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Then I will scratch the remainder of the swearing in. Congratulations to all of the new judges, as well as you, Judge Weaver. Thank you for being here with us tonight. All right. Well, now I will open public hearing for CB 23-029, an ordinance authorizing an additional appropriation for fiscal year 2023, ordinance number 4862. I understand that Brian Archer, Director of Finance, will present the item.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for the opportunity to speak to you a little bit tonight about our supplemental appropriation. We do have a short presentation that we'll jump right into. So, just a little bit of a recap for City Council. There is only one way for Council to change the budget, and that is through ordinance. And we do that 3 times per year. So the first time you just did, which is the approval of the next year's budget. So roughly a year ago in October, you approved the 2023 budget. Then in April, we bring to you what we call our carry-over ordinance. And what that is projects that we weren't able to complete in the current year that we would like to bring forward and complete them in the next year. And some small changes. Sometimes we receive some grant funding, and sometimes we end up with what we historically have called one-time funds. Maybe we'll come up with a different name with this council, but basically opportunity funds that council would like to put to work. Many times those are items that were identified during our previous budget process that we didn't have funding for, and we were able to then identify the funding. Then throughout the year, we bring to you changes through resolutions. These are things, again, like grant funding or items that are a little bit more, need to have action sooner. They only require one meeting, and they don't formally change the budget. And then at the end of the year, which is where we are today, we bring these items to you and ask for an additional appropriation, a final ordinance. That is what we're doing tonight. A little bit about what it is. I just went over that. Jumping in, what you will see is a chart of the various funding or funds that we're asking for additional approval. At the top of this chart, it shows our original budget, what council approved during the carryover ordinance, what we're asking for tonight, and what the final overall budget will look like. Again, all of these items have either additional revenues, either through the form of grants or additional sales tax or fees that we have received throughout the year, or there are sufficient reserves to cover their expenditures. What do we mean by that? We mean if council chooses to approve this, they will not affect any of our 10-year models. We will still have the appropriate council reserves at the end of those 10-year models. We'll jump in and we'll go pretty quickly. Council did receive this information in your packet. If there are any questions, please stop me. Otherwise, I'm just going to run through these very fast. So we're asking for approximately $3.5 million in the general fund. These are the items. The majority of that is for a purchase of a property. Council should be very familiar with that. We brought that to you all through a resolution. $250,000 for some outside legal attorney support through some of the litigation we are up against, and then about $160,000 in various operating expenditures. I'd like to point out that is less than 1%, in fact, less than 0.1% of the overall budget. So very, very small number there. On the community development side, we heard a little bit about some of these items tonight, but we do need to budget for the receipt of some ARPA grant funding and for 2 loans to affordable housing projects. Again, items that council had received previous. $40,000 for our Main Street Housing Assistance Program, also grant funding, so pretty exciting there. On the Parks Fund side, one larger project, about $162,000 for a renovation of Pioneer Park and the infields related to that. And then again, $70,000 for operating funds, again, a very small number for parks. They were able to move a lot of funding around this year, and so their request at the end of the year was quite small. 2 requests in our TI funds, again, both offset by grant funding for purchases of equipment and certifications and training. A little bit longer list on the CIP side, and so we're going to go ahead and walk through these if that's okay with council. If you do not want me to, I'm happy to move on. No need, I see from Lisa.
Seeing no interest, you may continue.
Okay, we will move on. Finally, on our construction fund, we did issue a sales and use tax bond earlier this year. This is us asking to approve those dollars for use in our CIP. We spoke a little bit on the golf course side, and I do want to spend just one moment on these. These are some larger increases related to golf and food. They did very well this year. When we prepared their budget, we prepared for a normal year. They had an excellent year. And so as we went throughout the year, we had to spend money to support that increased play and the increased customers in the restaurant side. And so these are just the expenditures related to that. Again, all covered by revenue. On the wastewater side, we had an increase to one of our drainage projects. This is actually a transfer in from stormwater to help with that overall project. We've spoken at each of our quarterly reports about our insurance fund and the need to spend some dollars related to property loss and workers' comp claims. Again, this is giving the authority to that. On our print shop, we were able to save up money in our replacement fund and buy a new printer, which we're very excited about. And our vehicle side, you've heard a lot about inflation, both on the purchase and the maintenance of our vehicle fleet. And so this is to recognize that. So I realize very quick presentation. Any questions that I can answer?
And I see no lights, so I will ask for a motion.
Thank you.
There's not a motion in here. This is the hearing. All right, excellent. Thank you, Councilmember Foray.
Sorry, it was back up top. All right. I move that CB 23-029, an ordinance authorizing an additional appropriation for fiscal year 2023, be approved on final reading, numbered 4862, and ordered published by title only.
All right, thank you so much. Have the council cast their votes. This, for some reason, Mayor Pro Tem Mormon has been locked out of the system. Tonight is full of adventures, so Mayor Pro Tem Mormon, let's do a voice vote. How do you vote?
I vote aye.
All right, with him voting aye, I will display the other votes, and that passes 6-0 with Councilmember Ambrose being an excused absence. Apologies. All right. Thank you so much. So next on the agenda is workshop item on 2023 community survey. I will call the team to present this item.
Mayor Simpson and members of council. The city has conducted a survey of approximately 1,200 residents every other year, starting in 1997, with our last biannual survey in 2019. The city did not conduct a 2021 survey due to the COVID-19 pandemic. In 2022, we relaunched the community survey as an annual opportunity to solicit feedback from the residents of Arvada. Community survey results are used by the City Council and City team to help ensure that the City Council's strategic plan and city's operation plans are aligned with the community's needs and expectations. Since 2022, Probolsky Research has been conducting the annual community survey on behalf of the City of Arvada. The opportunity to participate in the community survey was advertised to all residents of Arvada through the Arvada Report, Arvada Channel 8, social media, arvadaco.gov, Speak Up Arvada, print flyers, and in-person outreach. Probolsky Research also conducted their own outreach targeted at hard-to-reach or underrepresented groups throughout the survey period. Tonight, we have Dr. Elise Basil, Senior Research Analyst, who will present the community survey methodology and key findings. After Dr. Basil's presentation, we welcome your questions, and then we will close with next steps. As you listen to the key findings, please keep in mind that the survey represents a moment in time for our community. While individual questions can be interesting, it's important to keep themes and trends in mind. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Basil.
Welcome.
Just trying to make sure nothing falls over. Thank you all for having me here this evening. As Rachel said, my name is Dr. Elise Basil, here representing Probolsky Research to discuss the findings of the community survey. I will say that this is a very condensed version of the findings. The full report is much, much larger and has a lot more data, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have about that larger survey if they come up. So as Rachel said, we conducted this survey among 1,200 Arvada residents using a really wide variety of methods. So we contacted people by phone. There was an online survey that some residents received email invitations or text invitations. We sent out a random sample of mail with postcard invitations to participate in the survey. We used targeted social media ads, as well as in the Arvada Report. I will say the Arvada Report continues to be a marvel for us at Probolsky Research. We have never seen a publication have such success in bringing in survey participants. So whoever runs the Arvada Report is really doing it right. So this survey was fielded from end of September to mid-November. So a 1,200 sample size yields a margin of error of about 2.9%. Residents could complete this survey in English or Spanish. So I'm going to start with just overviewing some key findings, and then I will jump into each one of these in much more detail. So in general, satisfaction is high among Arvada residents, particularly with city services and overall quality of life. Residents in general are feeling safe in their individual neighborhoods and the city during the day, and majority are viewing Arvada as an equitable place to live. Residents are, however, mixed in their opinions towards the growth and development in the city, and I'll get into the weeds with that much more. Management of traffic and infrastructure developments are opportunities for growth for the city, particularly in managing some of those concerns of overdevelopment. Homelessness and affordable housing are still important to residents, and support for programming-based solutions to those issues is high. And parks and open space satisfaction is high, and Arvada should continue to invest resources in those parks.
I'm going to interrupt you here and ask a quick question before you go off. Can you move that back one slide?
Yes.
So your fifth bullet there where it says homelessness and affordable housing are still important to residents, and support for programming-based solutions is high. So when you tested the support for programming-based solutions, did you test that as a value proposition or just as without value attached to it? In other words, did you ask questions like, would you rather have a new traffic signal or a homelessness program, or would you rather have a new playground at your park or a homeless program, or would you rather have, in other words, test the value of that versus values of other things, or was it just in general, are you supportive of the city doing more to help homelessness?
It was more in general. We did not measure it against other things.
So it wasn't a value proposition?
It was not a
just
value proposition.
Right.
It was a list of different solutions that the city team provided to us, and we tested were they in support of those solutions.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so our first key finding is that residents overall are satisfied living in Arvada, but there's some room for growth with city services. So 73% rate the quality of life in Arvada as good or fair. As a point of reference, for last year, this number was at 71%. Now, you might say, oh, 2%, that's not that much growth, but this is actually really in line with what we would see over a one-year span. We're looking for those very small upticks because, especially with something as diverse as quality of life, so many factors go into that. It takes some time for that to really improve. So you're maintaining those levels, if not even showing some small improvements. Of note, the quality of life scores do vary by some demographics. So we did find that this number was lower among your Black and African American residents, as well as those who have lived here longer, but it does increase with household income. So there are some variations there. 72% rate Arvada as a good place to live compared to other cities and towns. When it comes to satisfaction with services, we're looking at about a 67% satisfaction rate. Again, this is lower among Black and African American residents, as well as residents who identified with a gender that was not male or female. Now, this was a small sample size of those residents, as well as the Black and African American residents, just based on the proportion within the city. So we have to interpret some of these results with caution when we're dealing with very small sample sizes, because the margin of error can be a little bit larger and a few individuals can sort of give spikes in particular directions. But as I talk tonight about some of these differences with these particular groups, we do believe that there is a theoretical and logical backing to why we might be seeing those differences that might not be just a reflection of a small sample size. So if you look at the chart on the right as well, so what we did with this is we provided survey participants with a list of city services and asked them essentially which of these were personally important to them, and then we also asked them to rate their satisfaction, whether or not they were satisfied with those services being provided. On this chart here, we just specifically pulled the items that were of more importance to your residents. And so if we look in the upper right-hand quadrant, those are the services that are very important to your residents and they are also satisfied with. So that's providing clean and reliable drinking water and maintaining parks, trails, and open space. The green box here in the lower right quadrant, these are your growth opportunities. These are services that are personally important to your residents, but the satisfaction is a little bit lower than what you probably would want to see. So this is with services such as managing land use, planning and development, maintaining street and traffic operations, providing effective police services, and providing effective wastewater and stormwater management. Our second key finding is that generally, residents feel safe living in their Arvada neighborhoods and generally see Arvada as an equitable place for residents. So we asked them essentially, do you feel safe in various locations in Arvada? And 90% feel safe in their neighborhood during the day, and 66% said they feel safe in commercial areas during the day. We also found that 56% felt safe in their neighborhoods after dark, but some growth areas potentially are that only 24% each for these are commercial areas after dark, and then bus stops, rail stops, or the Old Town Hub. Only 24% of residents felt safe in those locations, in those contexts. Just as a point of reference of how these numbers compare, so when we look at SafeWise's State of Safety in America report, which is a periodic report that they put out, 47% generally feel safe in their cities nationally, and this number for Colorado as a state is about 54%. So you're doing better than some of these kind of more macro level items. We also looked at sort of the sense of community feel in Arvada and how residents were feeling in terms of equity. So what we found was that 69% agreed that they felt included in the community. As we've seen with some of the other questions here, we found that those agreement levels were lower for Black and African American residents as well as residents of other gender identities. When we looked at this sort of open-ended question of what is the top issue facing Arvada, only 0.4% said that lack of diversity in the city was an issue that needed to be addressed. And when we asked people, is Arvada heading in the right direction or the wrong direction and why they felt that way, 11% say it's because of the small town feel good place to live that Arvada provides for them of why the city is heading in the right direction. Looking a little bit further into equity measures in Arvada, we also investigated are residents confident that the justice system in Arvada is treating residents with fairness, dignity, and respect, and found about a 62% agreement level with this. This was lower among younger residents as well as Black and African American residents. That does tend to align with general societal trends in this area. Of note, 20% of respondents on this question said that they were unsure, so they don't have enough kind of working knowledge of the justice system to be able to confidently say one way or another. So it's a little bit more challenging when we look at some of these nuances on whether this is sort of just general perceptions as skepticism around justice systems and equity within them is at a heightened level right now, just on a national basis, or whether or not that's sort of rooted in anecdotal evidence that residents might have here. We also asked, are residents experiencing barriers in accessing city facilities or services due to things like physical ability, age, or cultural identity? We found that 89% said that they did not experience any barriers. Those who did, it was higher among those of other gender identities, 65 plus age group, Latino and Hispanic residents, Black residents, and those who had household income of under $35,000. And of those who experienced those barriers, the top cited reasons were for perceptions of discrimination or of handicap access. Our third key finding is that residents are divided in satisfaction with Arvada's growth, management, and economic development. This is probably not news to you that there is this tension among residents on whether or not the growth that the city is experiencing is good or bad. So what we found was that 61% rate the city's planning for growth as good or fair, but 37% say that Arvada's planning for growth is not meeting their expectations due to overdevelopment and too much growth. 26% said that overpopulation and controlling growth is the most important issue facing Arvada when asked in an open-end question. So that's really sort of top of mind for some people as well. There seems to be some underlying concerns that the growth that's happening within the city will threaten some of the community feel, drive up cost of living, and increase traffic and congestion as well. We found that 21% are satisfied with the overall quality of new development, but only 43% are satisfied with the variety of businesses and service establishments in Arvada. And then I mentioned that right direction, wrong direction question before. This yielded very interesting responses, though not completely unsurprising. When we asked people why you think Arvada is heading in the right direction or why you think it's in the wrong direction, the top answer for each of those was the growth and development of the city, whether or not it was something that was making Arvada really great or something that was kind of throwing them off track. So of the 35% of residents who said things are heading in the right direction, 36% of them say it's because of the focus on growth and development of the city. But of the 33% who say the city's heading in the wrong direction, 40% of them say it's due to overpopulation and too much growth. So there's definitely some tension there between different residents.
Can I ask a question about that? So 35% say it's heading right direction. 33% think it's heading in the wrong direction. So the remaining 32% are indifferent, or how do they fall?
They said unsure.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was pretty evenly split. All right, our fourth key finding surrounds homelessness and affordable housing. I will just make a note. I understand that the Housing Advisory Committee has some survey data pertaining to this. This is not that data. It is separate data. So I just wanted to make sure that that was clear. So this is something that is still pretty top of mind for residents. It was something that was a big theme of last year's survey as well. So 30% say that homelessness is the most important issue facing Arvada. Again, this was an open-ended question. And 19%, this was also an open-ended question, say reducing homelessness is Arvada's most pressing need. And 12% within that question say it is affordable housing. So this is something that they are thinking about. Now, there is possible election effects happening because it is likely that candidates were talking about these issues as this survey was going on. But given that we saw that this was also a concern last year for the survey, we suspect that this is, an enduring thing that residents do care about. As we said, we looked at some strategies. These were the top two from the ones that the city provided of ways to address homelessness. So increasing partnerships with nonprofits to provide support services to low-income or unhoused persons and families received 55% support, and expanding programs to mitigate the risk of homelessness received 54% support.
Mr. Marriott.
Let me interrupt you one more time, and again, I'm just going to ask the exact same question. Were these tested as a value proposition at all, or they were just in absence of value, they were just asked in general?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
We also asked, in addition to ADUs, how should the city increase housing availability? And you can see that the responses here are pretty divided. Residents don't have one clear path that they tend to be following on what might be the best solution for the city, which gives some opportunity for outreach or really exploring these different options more thoroughly without residents being kind of swayed in one direction or another at this point in time. Our fifth key finding is that traffic management and road conditions are growth opportunities for the city. So 35%, again, in an open-ended response, say issues related to transportation, traffic, or road conditions is the most important issue facing Arvada, and 27% say that better roads and infrastructure is the city's most pressing need. 65% say that they can get where they need to go using their preferred mode of travel safely and conveniently. But of those who disagreed, 60% say that improving the quality of road pavement would improve their experience. But when we asked them, would you be willing to support increasing funding with a tax or a fee for public works services, support was only at just about 51%. Looking at this chart on the left, this runs pretty similar to that one I showed before where importance is on the bottom. So as you move further right, these are things that are more important in terms of public works services to your residents. And as you go up the scale, it relates to how satisfied they are. So again, sort of looking at that bottom right quadrant is those growth opportunities where it's important to them, but their satisfaction is low. We're looking at traffic control and operations and road pavement quality. And then finally, we looked at what their satisfaction was in terms of are they getting their money's worth for their tax dollars. Overall, this number was about 55%. When we looked at specific public works services, we're at about 68% for water and sewer, but about 48% for trash and recycling. And then finally, our sixth key finding is that residents are satisfied with Arvada parks, and there is some support for renewable energy and sustainability initiatives. I will say that we have conducted separate surveys with the Parks Department, which I would encourage anyone to look at those results as it really dives more into the weeds on parks specifically. But 77% visit parks, open space, and athletic facilities for exercise on a regular basis. So this is really something that is of high use for your residents. And 59% feel safe in your parks. The most requested amenity to improve parks is just overall cleanliness and upkeep. In terms of support for efforts to increase renewable energy, this was again a list provided. 53% said that they supported education or incentives to support home energy efficiency upgrades, while 48% said education or incentives to support installation of solar panels on homes and businesses. And then finally, we looked at some support for sustainability and climate actions in parks and open spaces. And not super surprisingly, planting trees and native vegetation, so sort of tying into that cleanliness and upkeep, was the most supported initiative for that. This is just a slide that breaks down the demographics for your reference. We did weight and proportion the data to match the census demographics of your residents to give you a statistically valid survey. With that, I will be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Mormon.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have one question. I love looking at survey data, and if it's possible in the future, and maybe for this survey, at a later date, to provide, since you've been doing this since 2022 for us, is that correct?
Yes.
We asked some of the same questions over year after year, so I'd like to see that data put together and look at what the trends are over the year for those questions.
So in the full report that we've provided to the city, we do have that tracking data.
I apologize, I had technical difficulties and couldn't access that.
Not a problem. I will just make a note to say, I know that you've conducted this survey for several years before, and so I think a question had been raised previously about some of the earlier surveys and tracking that data. When we dug into that, it was asked on a scale that we couldn't make a reasonable comparison to, so we are only tracking based on the newly established survey from when we took over.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Ferre.
Just to the city team, is it possible for us to get the report for the strategic planning session, like a recap report? We have it already? Okay. Catching up. Thanks.
Perfect. Seeing no more lights, thank you so much. We appreciate all your hard work.
Thank you.
So I'm just going to close out with some brief next steps. Thank you for your time tonight. And so for next steps, you will have an opportunity to dig into the data during your strategic planning. We gotcha. The leadership team has already started to look at the results and consider how to incorporate feedback into our planning. The communication team will share information back to residents through our communication channels like the excellent Arvada report. And I anticipate that we will provide opportunities for resident engagement in those areas where we need to find out more information. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and great work on the Arvada report. Kudos, well deserved, Rachel. All right. Next, we have our second public comment. This is the 5-minute public comment for items not on the agenda. We have one sign up this evening. That is Daniel Mondragon. Did I get the pronunciation correct, Daniel? I'm working on it.
Very nice, Mondragon. Thank you so
Mondragon.
much. Yes.
Got to roll that R.
Thank you so much. Good to be here with you all tonight. And when I saw that the community survey was going to be on the agenda tonight, I did have the opportunity to take a quick look at it, as well as hearing the presentation tonight. I am interested in wanting to see the full report and would love to know how I can actually see that, and perhaps even suggest that it is made available for any resident who would love to see the full report. So I'll follow up with staff to see how I can gain access to that. So based on that, just that I have, just a little bit of reading, hearing tonight, just a couple of points that I guess I have at this point, and may come back to all of you or each of you individually with further thoughts and, as I dig into it a bit more. From my experience of over 35 years of residency in Arvada, I definitely feel the survey reflects my experience in many ways. Key finding number one, definitely Arvada is in a position of strength and is a great place to live, and I'm grateful for our wonderful city, and so I am so glad to be a part of our community. Just tonight, In a conversation with the Director of Communications and Engagement before the start of the meeting, just learned something new about work that is being done to strengthen neighborhoods. And I think there is more work that I need to do, residents need to do, and city needs to do to communicate the incredible work that the team is doing to make Arvada such an incredible place that it is. Key finding number 2, neighborhoods are safe and equitable. I do appreciate the emphasis in looking at safety. I do have to ask the question and wonder if not for, not only for future surveys, but just for the strategic planning purposes and conversation around thinking, could there be additional measures of community and neighborhood well-being in addition to safety that we ought to be looking at to gauge how are we doing, how are the residents doing in interacting with one another, interacting with the city. So just something to ponder, and I'll be thinking about that some more as I read the report. Key finding number 3, growth. We all know that term, smart growth. Definitely, we're not going to shut our door. And so Arvada is a place that is a part of the greater Denver metro area. And so we have that opportunity to be smart and for intentional growth, including diversity. As we know, as we've heard, diversity brings strength within businesses, within organizations, and within communities. And so how do we think about intentionally growing Arvada in a way that also honors the opportunity to bring diversity, gender, race, age, life experiences that will continue to enhance the incredible place that Arvada already is. Definitely the council, the city, and others in the community, like the chamber, the business community, and residents can share opportunities for intentional action in this arena. Finally, just a couple of thoughts. Intentionality. Intentionality for voice, what I'm going to call voice-based equity. I have grown up and have had the pleasure and the opportunity to know that I have a right to stand up and speak my mind wherever I'm at, including in this space. I don't know how much that is true for other people. And so I wonder what we could do to increase the felt sense of every Arvada resident that they're welcome and they have a right to speak up, especially people of color and people from the LGBTQ community. How can we help intentionally our residents find their voice? The sample was small, as we heard, of diversity in the city, but the representation is of the current demographics of the city. I understand that, but where's the city going? And how, as the city becomes more diverse, how do we intentionally make sure that people who may have been excluded or felt they were excluded in the past can have their voice heard? I look forward to the continued conversations and collaborations, as you've heard me say many times, amongst all of you, city staff and residents, specific vehicles, a DEI or a Community Inclusion Commission. We can look at that so that we have concrete avenues for us to engage together. Glad to hear that one of the next steps is community engagement, that we can work together and think about how do we make Arvada the best it can be. Look forward to seeing how the survey is used in your strategic planning for 2024. Thank you all. Good night.
Thank you so much. All right, Ms. Rush, do we have any additional public comment? Seeing none, I will open it to City Council reports. Mr. Marriott.
Thank you. I want to report tonight about a missed opportunity. Unfortunately, given the actions by the legislature this past session, followed by their tepid actions in their special session in November, we've missed an opportunity to give property tax relief to the citizens of Arvada. Tonight, I came prepared to propose a mill levy reduction that the city might take to help provide relief to homeowners and renters all through Arvada. Literally would touch virtually everybody in Arvada. Unfortunately, our processes don't allow that to happen because of the time frames involved and the holidays involved, that the deadline by which we can adjust our mill levy cannot be achieved given our notice requirements and meeting requirements to take an action like this. However, I think it's a shame because even though our potential actions to reduce property taxes by reducing our mill levy would be relatively small, there are a lot of people suffering from inflation and a poor economy, people who are on the edge, and though small, it would have been meaningful. It's too bad it can't happen this year, but here's what I'm asking. Because property tax valuations happen on a 2-year cycle, we're going to see the exact same thing next year. And so I'm going to ask this council to kind of put a pin in this, and let's put it on a future agenda item next year in plenty of time for us to take action and not wait on the legislature in the future. And potentially, if the council agrees, we can agree to help our Arvada residents with their property tax increase, not for this coming property tax year, but for the following one. That's all I have.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Pfeiffer.
I just want to thank everyone for a great year and happy holidays to everyone. We get 2 weeks off, or at least we do, right? Two. And you know, during this time, I think one of the big things that is remiss or we don't ever discuss that hopefully people can reflect on is when you take your resolutions and you think of what you're going to do in the future. I'll defer to what Chief Brady always talked, and I really I'm prideful of what he brings up, which is around civility. As time goes on, and I've seen the time from when I first got on council to where we are today, civility still seems to be absent from our conversations, where we can have thoughtful conversations, respect for each other's views, respect for each other and our differences have been absent in society. So I hope that maybe we can start a new year reflecting on how we can be better humans and better people. And again, maybe institutionalize or reinstitutionalize civility and bring it back. You know, I stopped on social media because there is no civility in social media whatsoever. I can go and see my neighbors. I can go see all of you beautiful people of the city, my family, and have thoughtful, civil conversations. So during this holiday, I hope you all can reflect on how we can all do better next year and how we can all lead by example by showing what civility means here in Arvada. So again, I hope everyone has a nice holiday and a happy new year, and we'll see you next year.
Thank you, Mr. Pfeiffer. Ms. Foray.
I'm back.
Yay!
Yeah. Thank you to the council for holding down the fort while I took the maternity leave. I was nervous about leaving my duties here, but I really appreciated the support. You gave me that time to recover as well as learn how to be a new mom and start working again. So thank you for that. And I also agree with Councilmember Marriott about talking about mill levies and a future consent agenda for future agenda for next year. So thanks for bringing that up.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Mormon.
I just wanted to express my gratitude to the city team for all the hard work they've put in this year, and looking forward to the year to come. And we've got a lot on our agenda. So I hope that all of you can take the time off during the holidays to be with your family, friends, and get some rest. And I wish that for all of Arvada, that we can take this time to cherish those that are close to us and our relationships, and look for the joy in life. So I wish that for everyone. Thank you.
And Ms. Davis.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to say thank you to staff and to my fellow council members. This has been a great start to my stint here as a council member. So I wanted to extend that gratitude. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of a bit of a grind, but a lot of laughs. It's that's what's really nice, and just the civility that we do have on this council, that I do know other people look at us and say, wow, how do you guys do it? And just say, we're Arvada, and that's how we treat each other in Arvada. So happy holidays to everyone, and I hope that you have a wonderful holiday season. We'll see you next year.
All right, and with that, I'll wrap it up and bring it home. I just wanted to say very happy holidays to everyone, both here in Chambers and all of you at home. Whether you are celebrating a happy Hanukkah, a Merry Christmas, a happy Kwanzaa, or any of the other several hundred holidays there are this time of year around the world, we want to thank you for being part of our city, part of our community, and hopefully you have a joyful time of year. And I want to thank our staff for all of their incredible work this year. Ms. Gillis, you run a very fine team, and I hope they all know that. We know you know that. So with that, I will say, oh yeah, we do have to have updates from Lori and Nora, don't we? Thanks. Ms. Gillis, any further updates?
Councilmember Frey, you have jumped in big time. You're back. You know, making motions, you're all in. I too want to say happy holidays to all of you. We have had a good year. We've had a lot going on. The team right now, we're doing our evaluations, looking back at things we've done, what we can do better, how we can grow, and celebrating, and also looking ahead to setting goals for the future. So it's a fun time for me because I get to work with all these people. And we are a great team and look forward to going into next year. Also highlighting, we have a lot of workshops coming up January and February. So check out that workshop list. And then also check out that community survey in some great detail. You'll be receiving a survey from Ms. Blythe so that we can start collecting your thoughts ahead of the planning retreat. So we have a great few weeks to enjoy the season and look forward to working with you into next year.
All right, perfect. Ms. Steenson?
Thank you. Other than wishing everyone happy holidays, no report from legal.
Perfect. And the privilege of the mayorship is that I get to finish my thoughts. So I simply want to say thank you, everyone, for all your hard work, and to the points of civility and camaraderie. I agree with my council members, and I think it's easy why we're so nice, Councilmember Davis, because I can honestly say I like each and every one of you. And that is a true privilege that we have here in this city, and not everyone gets to have that. So thank you all for your hard work. Thank you all for being up here in your service to the community. And happy holidays, everyone. With that, we're adjourned.